Good day, awesome YouTubers. It is Saiyaman16 here again for another Dragon Ball Super review. This is episode 73, and I don't actually have a Japanese translation this week, but I'm kind of actually in a hurry here. I'm going to get through this fairly quickly, but episode 73 was pretty much a lighthearted one. We start off with Jaco in some random planet, and he's eating ramen. And he actually captured something, and the chef, the alien chef, actually asks him what that thing is, and he explains it's the Watagash. It's basically like a virus thing that it's like an evil criminal that he captured, and he says it won't escape, but it escapes later on when he's eating, and so he has to track it, and it goes to Earth. And meanwhile at Earth we have we kind of started off with Gohan. He's typing up something on the internet. He's working on his papers for college and whatnot, and basically he hears Videl cry out, and he goes to the living room, and he sees Mr. Satan, and him fighting on TV, as him as Saiyaman versus Mr. Satan. And what's happening here, it's kind of like a commercial for a new upcoming movie that they're gonna do, and it features quite a lot of fighting between him and Satan, and it's called Great Saiyaman versus Mr. Satan. And jokingly, Herms put Dawn of Justice, just kind of a joke. But anyway, first, before I continue, I just also forgot to mention that Herms has these translations, of course, lots of support. Herms, twitter.com/Herms98, that's what it was. Anyway, continuing on with this review, the movie is going to be starring Bari Karn, Bari-sama, which actually, if you remember from Dragon Ball Z, the Buu saga, he was that superstar that Majin Buu impersonated, when he changed his face to him. Anyway, so he's kind of an idol, and Barry is, anyway, the reporter says that, he questions Barry, and he's saying, like, are you playing the Great Saiyaman? And he's like, of course, because the Saiyaman is, he's a minor hero, and he's not around, so he has to go and play him. And, anyway, so this guy, Barry Karn, is kind of an ego guy. He has a pretty big ego, that's kind of expected. He wants to name the movie like Barry Karn, the Great Saiyaman versus Mr. Satan, that kind of thing, to get more publicity and whatnot. Interestingly enough, Gohan wishes that Goku, his father, was here to see the movie, but of course Goku is training he's training at King Kaio-sama's planet while this is happening. Anyway, so Mr. Satan is about to tell his idol that Gohan is actually the Great Saiyaman, and then it's not Barry Karn, but of course, Gohan stops him, because if they found out his identity, he's going to be fired and whatnot. I don't know, for some reason. Maybe it's just a plot hole. Anyway, so while this is occurring, Barry actually comes in, and she talks to Videl, because Videl was there with Pan, and that idol Barry, he actually tries to hit on her, which is really interesting. But of course, Videl is, she's married and whatnot, so I don't even know why Barry Karn wanted to hit on her in the first place. But anyway, Videl obviously tells him no, and that, Gohan is way better, way cooler and whatnot. So after this, we cut to the movie. I believe we cut to the movie scene, and Mr. Satan explains to the whole production crew that, we don't want Barry Karn to get hurt, so it's good that we have a stuntman to do it. And I think what happens here is that Gohan actually, he wants to be in it, as the, stuntman. And, interesting enough, Barry, the guy Barry Karn, actually wants his stunt double to perform the stunts without ropes, so it's even more dangerous. But of course, it's not as dangerous for Gohan. And what happens here is, Barry actually thinks that Gohan wants to be in the movie just to be popular with all the women, which is kind of weird. because Gohan's married and whatnot. But afterwards, that turns out to be completely false, because Gohan wants to be in it only to impress Pan, and Videl is all for it. She's like, come on, you Gohan, you can do it, and you can like impress Pan and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, they set up for the scene. There's a tank rolling in, and what happens here is Gohan has to save the guy in the tank, because the tank is going haywire and it's going to crash into a building. And so what happens here is Gohan miraculously jumps up and he smashes into the tank, saving the person, and the tank goes to explode. Later on, we get stuff with Saiyaman and Krillin as a police officer, and he is apparently trying to fight off these two criminals. But before this, Great Saiyaman interjects and he smashes through the wall, instantly almost knocking out Krillin in the process. A really funny scene. And while they're going to have a showdown, the virus, the Watagash from earlier that I mentioned, comes in and then it infects one of the criminals, and he gets super powerful and he starts attacking Gohan. But of course, Gohan handles this pretty easily. Interestingly enough, those two criminals that I mentioned, they were actually in the manga of Dragon Ball Z, but they kept it out of the anime, but they're here now in Dragon Ball Super. It was during the Great Saiyaman arc when Videl and Gohan were, posing as this Great Saiyaman and Saiyawoman, and they were, going about their adventures, and it happens that those two criminals, they actually beat them up in Dragon Ball Z. So, to see them again here in Dragon Ball Super, pretty interesting stuff. I thought that Barry Karn also showing up again was, another pretty minor throwback to DBZ, but a throwback nonetheless. So anyway, Krillin's asking Gohan what he's doing here, but of course Gohan doesn't want Krillin to know his secret identity, and he's like, I am the Great Saiyaman. I am not Gohan. I am the Great Saiyaman. And I should also mention that Gohan, to defeat those two criminals, he actually almost uses a Kamehameha on them, but he doesn't, and instead he fires a Ki Blast, and he says the words like, "This is my Great Saiyaman beam." So yeah, that part. So afterwards, there's some stuff with Bulma. I'm not really sure. It doesn't really matter what. Well, I think she says something about she created this suit or something like that. I kind of missed that part of the episode. But Jaco actually comes in and he aims his quote-unquote space cannon at the Great Saiyaman. He wants to wipe him out, but why? Well, I think what happens here is Jaco thinks the Watagash has infected Great Saiyaman, but of course not. And that's where we leave it up on the episode. For the next week, we're gonna have, for the sake of those he likes, the indomitable Great Saiyaman, we're gonna have some more stuff with Gohan, Great Saiyaman. Overall, I thought this episode was pretty comedic one. Some comedy in some parts, some slow stuff in some parts, some good throwbacks to Z, I guess, if you know anything about the Buu Saga or the Great Saiyaman arc, with Videl and Gohan and whatnot. But yeah, guys, pretty slow episode. I think this episode is going to be actually a mini arc before we get to Goku and Krillin training stuff, which I will cover in a later spoiler videos for episodes 74 and 77. But yeah, overall, not too much action in this one. I'm not that excited to see where this goes, because even though the Great Saiyaman arc in Z was okay, it was nothing really. I mean, it's supposed to be comedy and whatnot, and this is still quote-unquote filler, so we'll see where it goes. That's all for this one. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay awesome, everybody, and have a good one.